Guys, we have a huge announcement to make. The McAllister Hours podcast is going to be doing something completely new and different. We're going to be creating our first ever action comedy film entitled The Chronic Crusaders, about one of our favorite subjects, cannabis. We have already gotten a solid cast and crew behind this project with the goal of releasing in April of 24. Now, as everyone in show business knows, the one thing you desperately need to get a film started is funding. And that's where you, the listener, come in. Even if you only have $1 or $2 to spare, this helps us tremendously. So, if you're a fan of the podcast and want to help, this is your chance. Please check out the link in the description for the Kickstarter to donate. Again, we appreciate all the listeners for tuning in every week, and we hope you consider helping this dream become a reality. Stutterbox Productions is a backbone for many of the events that you see in the Midwest, from EDM festivals to late-night hip-hop shows. This company has been working closely with this podcast since the beginning, and we always have plenty of things planned for the future. So, if you're looking to plan your next gig or event, head over to their Facebook page to learn more today. Ladies and gentlemen, this is McAllister's podcast. I'm your host, as always, Cole McAllister. We're joined today by Basi Affia. How you doing today, man?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
Good. So you reached out to me. You run a comic company, not to be confused with a comedy company.
Yeah. Yep.
Like I originally thought.
Yeah.
I had about 10 jokks that I had to X off. The writers scrambling last minute. Oh my God, what are we gonna do? No, tell me how you're doing today, and get into like what do you do with your company? What's all that?
Yeah.
What's all that about?
Yeah. So first question, I'm good. I'm good today. Yeah.
I kind of comboed this in a weird way.
No, yeah. It's a good day. Like after this, I'm gonna go and work on a script for another title.
You screenwrite?
No, so there's like script for comic books. Like you have to write it a certain way, so that because I don't draw them, so you have to write it a certain way for the artist to be able to like know what you need. Yeah.
Sure.
So yeah, it's just another script format, but so I'm gonna go and write another. But don't write me off for like screenplays though. Okay. I haven't gotten there yet, but I'm a writer, so like eventually.
Sure.
So I'm gonna do that after this, and answer some emails and stuff. And
hell yeah! So I guess let me just ask you that first, like what's the difference between a screenplay that you would write for like a comic versus like a movie or like a story or whatever? Like, what's the difference?
It's just the format. So like the people who are reading it, it's the difference between like an artist who's going to be drawing it versus an actor who's going to be acting it. So like the artist is going to need to know what is going in each panel on the comic page, and they need to know how many panels are on this comic page and as much detail as possible, because they are the ones that are going to be visualizing it. The actor will see a different format of a script, and it's written in a way for them that it's just like, hey, these are the general like emotions and whatever.
Sure.
But as an actor, there's a lot more creative liberties for like what they can do. I'm an actor as well, so like I've seen both of the so it's like as an actor I can do a little more and have a little more creative freedom with how I'm portraying the character versus the artist, where it's like, nah, this is like what the scene looks like. Okay, so when you say actor, you just mean like that's the section that like, is that just the dialogue essentially? Like there's a dialogue portion, and then there's there's a script, what it looks like, there's a name, so like the character number one.
You want to just pull that up, Molly?
Yeah.
What a comic screenplay looks like, or a comic script?
There's for a screenplay, it's like character one, it'll have what's called blocking, or like your movements and stuff.
Sure.
And then it'll have the line, and then it might not be in that order actually, but those are the things that are on there. In a comic script, it'll say like panel 1, and then it'll describe what's in the panel, and then it'll have like, okay, this character is going to say this, but those are like bullet points when the characters are speaking. Or at least that's the format that I've seen.
Go to images, Molly. Go to images. Just click on one of them.
Let's see. I'll tell you if it's right or wrong. Oh yeah, that's
something
pretty,
like that.
Yeah, yep, yeah, that's
okay,
pretty.
I see. Sorry, I know this is really nerding out, but
no, you're good. Yeah,
I'm a screenwriter, so I mean, this
like
genuinely interests me.
Page 22, and then there's panel 1, panel 2, and within there, and then you see that the characters' lines are numbered, and so that's because when you're drawing the scene, you'll put the speech bubble, and then you'll just put the number 1 in there, just to like hold the place for it. So like,
okay,
yeah, there's everything for the whole process of it.
That's interesting. So when you're transposing what you have written on the script to the artist, like how much creative control are you giving them, or like are you like directing them like, oh, this is how I want all the panels to be laid out and how the movement is, or are you kind of giving them some freedom in that? Like, how does that work?
I pick my artists well, so I give them freedom.
Okay.
I give them some not like way too much, but I'll say this is generally what's going on in this panel. However you interpret that, just put it on paper. I will defer to your creative opinion because I'm doing literally everything else other than illustrating. So like, I'm not going to concern myself too much with, and most of the time it comes out looking better than what I would have like envisioned. So
right. Well, I mean, I think people who are like in the industry and like understand like the concept of like hiring an artist, like that's what you really want to do at the end of the day. Like nobody, like on either side, nobody wants to be the person who's like
micromanaging.
Exactly. Yep. That it just time and time again you hear from people, and like, you know, from my personal experience, I can say too, like it never works. Like you just got, when you're hiring an artist, you just got to be able to look at their portfolio, look at what they do, and just you know, determine can they make something that works for me. Yeah. You know. Yeah.
Yep. That's really that's the biggest decision. It's not necessarily that's the biggest decision, is the initial selection of who you're gonna have illustrate it. Is there synergy there? Like, do they know kind of your vibe, you know? There's a guy that I've been working with for a little while now. He lives in the Philippines actually. But he and I have done 2 projects now, I think. But you know, over the time of doing just one project, you get a feel for each other. Actually, no, I think we're maybe like 3 or 4, because I have like hard copy comic books, and then I have some like video projects and stuff and like whatever, and he does some illustrations for different things. So I've worked with him for a couple of things, and now we have this relationship where it's like I know what he's gonna bring, so I don't even have to really like worry about it. It's just, hey, this is what it is. He sends it back. Perfect. Exactly what I thought was going to happen.
That's awesome, man. That's what you want. So how long, I don't know if you mentioned the name of your company. What is it again?
Sensiil Studios.
Sensiil Studios. So how long has that been in operation? When did that start?
So I founded Sensiil Studios last year in 2022 on February 1st.
Ooh, okay. Yeah. So new company.
Yeah.
Okay.
And you wouldn't know that we were new though, based on a lot of the stuff that we got going on.
Nice.
And I say we, like it's not just me, but it is and it isn't. Like on paper, it's a single member LLC, but the actual effort and sweat equity that goes into it, you know, I got teammates and stuff. So, and we all help each other out with our different things. So, but yeah, no. So I started it last year, but I'm on my second year of business, and I have I have an animation deal lined up, 2 actually, and the most recent thing that's going to be happening is I have a partnership with a NASCAR driver actually.
Oh wow!
And so we're creating a comic book, and he's going to be a character in it.
Oh, that's fun.
And so so it's going to be a whole. But so we're doing that to kind of connect to this program that he has called the 1111 Project, and he works with veterans and stuff. Okay. And so I'm in the National Guard, so like that's how we kind of connected on that. And so so we're going to be making this comic. Well, I'm going to be making this comic book, and he's going to be in it, and you know, they're investing in it and gonna help market it and all that stuff. My logo is gonna go on his car for a race in October in Indiana.
Oh, nice, nice.
Yeah, so something just that kind of thing is like I'm gonna be skipping a couple steps. Like that's awesome. In my second year of business, like I got something like that. So So yeah, because that's really what the biggest hurdle is like getting the marketing and just getting your product outside of your immediate sphere of influence. You know what I'm saying? Like outside of your city, outside of your state, and they're gonna just kind of propel that into the next tier. So
sure. So how do you like tap into that market initially? Like how do you I mean, I don't know, how does one start a comic company? That seems like, because I'm not really familiar with that industry. So I mean, like to someone new on the outside, that would kind of seem like an old man's game, right? But like you're killing it, so it's obviously working. So like I don't know, I'm just curious, how do you like get into that?
Right. you write the story.
So are you doing like superhero type stuff, or is it variety? Or
I kind of wanted to stay away from like superhero per se. Gotcha. There are like, but it's more sci-fi than like superhero. Even though a lot of superhero stuff actually is sci-fi, but this is more so closer to like Star Trek, Halo, Mass Effect, Star Wars, like. It's on that side of sci-fi, not necessarily superhero.
I see. So it's more like just people that happen to be in space or happen to like have powers of some sort.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah. So that's that's the side of sci-fi that I'm on. But yeah, just write is how you get started, and there's a couple different ways that you can like approach it after that, whether you want to do like contracted work and make comics for other people, or if you have your own original IPs that you want to put out and self-publish them, or if you have an original IP that you want to publish through another company, so there's like different routes that you can do that. So but for me specifically, I just started self-publishing, and then being the first company like this in Iowa and one of the few in the Midwest, one of the few in the entire country. People gravitate towards it, and so there's other authors and stuff that want to publish through me, and so I'm talking to some of them right now to get some other people's stuff published through my company and put it up on my website and all that. And so I'm doing that, and so I didn't want it to be like a publishing company when I first made it, but like that's kind of what it's technically turning out to be. But really I see it as just like a production company, because like I guess I don't have to be the one that owns the publishing rights. Like that's the thing. I don't care. Like I'm not here to make money off of you. I'm gonna make money on my own regardless. So like if you want to like put my brand name on your stuff so that you can get more recognition, cool. I don't care. Like I need to fill up my catalog, so let's do it. Like just send me your stuff, as long as it's not dirt. Like I'll put it on the store, we can promote it, whatever. But so that's anyways, I digress. But yeah, I try to stay away from like superhero stuff just because it's very oversaturated right now. I was gonna say, that kind of leads into my next thing. I'm curious what your thoughts are on like the whole Marvel DC cinematic universe. Like I'm one of those people that's kind of over it. Like really,
I love it. I don't know. Like I love it. I watched a couple of the Avengers. I really like Spider-Man growing up. I really like Batman, but like Deadpool, I really like Deadpool. But other than that, I don't know. So
I feel like I have a special story. This is why I ride for it so hard. I don't defend DC. Their movies are garbage. I haven't even seen The Flash. So when the first Iron Man came out, when phase 1, all this started happening, Iron Man, Thor, and Hulk, and then I think maybe Captain America as well, and everybody was starting to notice like, dang, there's a lot of superhero movies out right now. And so I ended up getting Iron Man on DVD. If anybody remembers what a DVD is. But no, I got Iron Man on DVD, and then I like fell asleep one night, and I woke up and the credits were rolling. I was about to turn it off, and then like the post-credit scene came on with Nick Fury. And I was like, hold the phone, because like I'm not like the biggest comic buff, but like I knew what was up. I saw Sam Jackson on there. I'm like, hold on, bro, what are you saying here? Like the Avenger Initiative, like what? Like for real? Like, or is this just like haha? So then I Google it, and I don't remember what site I came across, but it literally laid out everything. It was like, so there's going to be phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. Thanos is going to be the main villain. Like this is going to be like what's going on, yada yada. And so I'm like, bruh. So I knew like Captain America was going to be a thing. I knew Thor was going to be a thing. I knew like all the other heroes that ended up coming in phase 1. Like I knew they were going to be, except for like the surprise ones, like Spider-Man, like obviously because Sony had the rights at that, but so all that stuff I still had surprises. But so anyways, that's why I feel like my experience with it is unique, because I knew very early on, and so I was looking forward to it every single movie. So then I'm telling my dad about it, and he was like, oh, that's cool. So like we're just, that's gonna be our thing, we're just gonna go and see these movies together. Bet. Cool. We went to the midnight premieres. We went to the like, so it's like, you know what I'm saying? It was a thing for me and my family. So like we would go to the midnight premieres, get the popcorn buckets that are, you know, whatever. And like, and then they stopped doing those because so many Marvel movies started coming out. So then they just like started releasing them the day before, basically. Yeah, no, so it's just been like a big part of my childhood and whatever. So that's why I always ride for it. But I am genuinely like entertained. I think the only Marvel movie that I haven't seen is Guardians of the Galaxy 3 right now. But I saw them all in theaters.
So you think the quality has been maintained throughout that whole thing? No. Where do you think it's at now? You think it's pretty
Phase 4 definitely. Yeah, phase 4 definitely like dropped off, but they addressed that. They're like, okay, we tried just putting out quantity, and all right, we'll dial it back. We're just gonna focus on quality. Like that's because they were getting close.
We're gonna ChatGPT write our movies now.
Basically, I think they just
might as well. They'd probably be better.
They really just started overdoing it with comedy. That was where they messed up.
Yeah.
They just did way too much comedy, and that's why I think Deadpool was so refreshing, because like it was funny, but like it was brutal.
That was the point.
Yeah, like it was brutal. Like was the thing though. Like it wasn't just comedy funny. Like Deadpool's just a funny dude.
Yeah.
You know what
the
I'm
reason
saying?
I love Deadpool is because the whole purpose of that is like just to shit on comic book movies. So for someone kind of on the opposite end, I was like, hey, you know, at least they're willing to like laugh at themselves a little bit, you know, and be like.
But yeah, no. So I think that they definitely dropped off in quality, and they addressed that, and so I'm excited to see what's going to be coming out again. I need to go and see Guardians 3. Probably not going to see The Flash. I want to go see Transformers also, but my dad told me that. No, okay, so here's the reason though. I was about to explain. Let me explain. My dad told me, and I knew this, but it's interesting to see that they actually did it in a movie. My dad told me that they put the G.I. Joes in there, which comic book wise, like source material, they're in the same universe. It's a thing. Transformers and G.I. Joes. But y'all really put it in the same movie, like, so it's, I don't know. Again, I haven't seen it. That's just kind of what my dad said, but I don't know. But even in like the first Transformers movie, there was like videos and speculation, whatever, saying like, oh no, this soldier that was in there, like he's actually a G.I. Joe, like in the comic books, like he's a G.I. Joe. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. So,
I didn't know they were from the same universe.
Yeah, yep. A lot of people didn't. So see, I feel like they should have done that from the first, like from the get-go. Because those movies were coming out around the same time anyways. But I think now people are just going to be like, why are they trying to put these in the same universe? And it's like, no, they already are, but people aren't going to.
Yeah, well, because it's like, I mean, I don't know. From an outsider's perspective, like Transformers is so
it's
out of the mainstream. Nobody would know.
I think that the Transformers movies, like they retconned or tried to like retcon some stuff, whatever, or maybe, you know, they switched up who the main character is and stuff. Like they didn't want to focus on Sam Witwicky the whole time. I think they should have just stuck with Sam and had Shia LaBeouf be the dude.
I didn't watch any of them, so
okay. So there in the first two is Shia LaBeouf. Yeah, he plays Sam Witwicky.
I did hear about that last scene where like he gets up the building in 5 seconds and he gets a cube.
None of that matters because explosions and cars that turn into fighting robots. That's the beauty of Transformers. It's like it don't gotta make sense. Like there's one scene also where what's the girl's name? Megan Fox. She's like running through this battlefield, and it has like white pants on, and they are pristine, like untouched by dirt or anything.
Of course.
Just stuff, but like it's a movie, whatever. Like it doesn't matter. It's transforming. You get to see robots fight each other. It's cool.
Yeah, it's Michael Bay.
Yeah, I was just gonna say it's Michael Bay. Explosions.
Yeah. Did you ever see a video of him while walking off the award show?
No.
Oh my God. I'm so sorry, Molly. You're gonna hate me. Could you please look up Michael Bay walks off award show? It's the funniest fucking clip of all time. Michael Bay walks off.
Walk.
The Michael of Bay. He blew up the stage. Actually.
The Bay of Michael. I'd believe it.
All right, that first one.
Director and producer Michael Bay. Good afternoon.
Thanks, Joe.
Good afternoon, Michael.
How is everyone today? My job as a director is I get to dream for a living.
Michael, you're known for such unbelievable action. What inspires you? How do you come up with these unbelievable ideas?
I create visual worlds that are so beyond everyone's normal life experiences. And Hollywood is a place
He looks like he's ready to
that
leave.
creates a viewer escape. And what I try to do is, as a director, I try to...
He's high or something.
It's the teleprompter.
The type is all off, sorry, but I'll just wing this.
Tell us what you think.
Yeah, we'll wing it right now.
Oh.
I try to take people on an emotional ride, and
That's why you memorize the line.
The Curve? How do you think it's going to impact how viewers experience your movies?
excuse me, I'm sorry.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's thank Michael Bay for joining us.
You can pause it. Oh my God.
That's why he's not in front of the screen.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I feel like a good director would be able to handle that.
Yeah. No, that's why I'm saying, I'm like, nah, he's got to be high or something. Like he was just nervous and like
He didn't even really seem high though. He just seemed like he don't
I'm
in my head. I can't talk.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like he don't seem like he just like smoked a blunt and then was like up there like, oh shoot.
Maybe that would probably happen to me. I would hope with my podcasting experience I would do a little better.
Yeah, no, I'm good at improv. Like I would have thrived in that situation. Like literally, not only am I an actor, I'm a stage actor. So like you can't redo anything. You have to make it work.
Oh, you said you were a stage actor?
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
How long did you do that?
So I just did one earlier this year. I just did one. I had like a 7-year hiatus. I was doing other stuff, but I was in a couple productions and stuff prior to that as well. But
Okay.
Yeah, no, I'm an actor.
Word, man. Well, hey, I'm currently working on a superhero stoner comedy. Where Kim Reynolds is the villain. So we are holding auditions. So if you would like to get in on that, I'll send you a script, man.
For what type of production is it?
It's just a film, a short film.
Short film.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
Let me know. Man. Let me see the script.
Yeah,
Let me see the script.
I'll send you the script. Give me, drop me your email and I'll.
I got you.
I'll get that to you.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's cool, man. We just had our last podcast guest. We had one of the guys that worked on my last short film with Wayne White. It's really interesting how many people in Iowa are actually involved in film and like the do-it-yourself grassroots culture that's here. I mean, it's really cool. It's a really cool community of people that are just you go on like Iowa Film and you just like, hey, I need help, and everybody latches on. It's really cool, man.
Yeah, no, I know quite a few people that are in that scene more heavily. I had I was telling you earlier that I like how I met Lolo.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
but like I'm a recording artist and stuff too. So I had a friend of mine who was he made films. He makes films. Present tense, makes films. He moved to LA now, but he was my music video guy. And he did
still out in LA?
Phenomenal work. Yeah.
Okay.
And I'm salty about it because he was my music video guy. But he did fantastic work. He did 3 videos for me, and I never wanted to go to anybody else because he did like cinematic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
He told stories with it, not just like I didn't just stand in front of my house and rap. Like there was a whole thing going on. But
yeah, rap videos, because I've done a few of those myself too. Like that's like such a like that genre of music videos is so wide array, right?
Yeah.
It comes from it starts from like a guy with the GoPro and like he's in front of the he's got like his 5 homies behind him, and then there's like, you know, a Kendrick level just like telling an entire fucking story in this like 4 minutes, you know. It's so weird.
And then you hire Michael Bay and he just blows stuff up in the video, and the Transformers come in, and then Cobra's in there for some reason, and then the G.I. Joes come in, and then Goku flies in, and you're like, what? But yeah, no, there's
music videos are good, like you know, for anybody interested in filmmaking. That's like a really great place to start, is a music video. Because I mean, it's simple. It's like you don't need, you know, because you can do the whole like like just getting all your homies out in front of a car or whatever. Like it's really easy to do that kind of stuff. You know, you can just you know, you can build out from there, you know, get to your point where you're making your full-fledged films and all that. So like so going back to like your comic company, how many, I don't think you answered this, how many like different arcs or like comics or whatever do you have going?
So I currently have in my Google Drive at least 12 folders that are labeled for like what I would call like a season. So like if it was an animation, that would be 1 season.
Okay. How many comics go into a season? Like how many issues?
For me, 10. But I mean, there's no like set amount for like you can make it as many as you want. But I just picked 10 because I started everything with the vision and purpose of getting it animated and going on streaming services. So they're going to be 10 episode seasons.
Okay. So wait. So maybe have I been misunderstanding this whole time? Is it like comic, like the printout, or are you animating all your stuff?
So it's like it's printed comic books, but I'm doing it with the intent of getting them adapted to animation.
Oh, I see. Okay, okay.
Which is already like in the works. So.
Oh wow, that's cool. That's cool. So that right there is 120 different issues, different comic books. That's insane, dude. Yeah. And you wrote all these yourself?
Yeah, so they're not all written quite yet, but
they're in the process.
But yeah, it's in the I have the timeline laid out, and I didn't write them yet because I knew I was going to come up with better ideas as time went on. But I have the general timeline of how everything's going to unfold. Even just in this first season, like I've pinpointed different spots where I'm like, oh, I could have like a spinoff movie there, another one there. I could maybe fit another like. Yeah, because so there's 3 titles. 3? 3 titles that go into this first like season as far as like the timeline goes, and it's different sets of characters, and then they eventually meet up in the second season, and they all so like they'll all be there. It's kind of taking a note out. That's one thing that I why I like the MCU so much is because of the execution of how they brought everybody together, all the different heroes and stuff, like just masterfully done. Just with the storytelling, and there's plot holes and stuff, but I mean, no story is going to be completely perfect. So
sure.
But yeah, no. So I kind of took a page out of their book, but I didn't want to overdo that. So it's like,
yeah. Well, that becomes kind of a cliche in a way, because like
it's just a whole movie of cameos. Like
yeah. Well, again, someone as an outsider, I think it was Infinity War we were watching. I had never seen this movie before, but like we watched that like the last 10 minutes that everybody knows, right?
You haven't seen Infinity War?
No.
All right. Hold on.
I watched the last 10 minutes.
Just go. I'm not even going to tell you to watch all freaking 22 movies or whatever. Like, just watch the Avengers movies. It's just 4 of them. The first
I watched the first 2.
Okay, well then just watch Infinity War and Endgame.
Infinity War and Endgame.
Yeah.
What's the one that's 2 parts?
Infinity War and Endgame. Like those
They're both 2 parts each?
No. Those are the 2 parts.
Oh, those are the 2. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Damn.
It's phenomenal. They're I can't even, like, I was in the movie theater. I remember being in the movie theater. I barely got my ticket. I was like checking my phone on Fandango, like, when are these gonna go on sale? I'm in the movie theater, grown men sitting next, like, I don't know, these people, and literally, like, we're cheering, crying, like, bro, it's a phenomenal movie. Now, you're not as emotionally invested, so it probably won't be like that for you, but they are objectively good movies. Like, it's just very well done.
Yeah. I guess my point was, like, from an outsider perspective, it looked like there were like a mind-boggling amount of characters. Like, and I'm somewhat familiar with the MCU, so, like, I knew, but, like, even for me, there was, like, some that was just like, I don't even know who the fuck that is. Like, there's like 30 different people.
You don't need to. You don't need to know who they are. Just know that they kick butt. Just know that they kick butt. Because really, so here's really why you don't need to know who all the extra people. So, in Infinity War, what am I trying to say? So basically, it all comes down to the original Avengers again. Like, they end up being the main ones that you're following at the end of it again.
Okay.
So like, all these other characters, like, they play a role, they do matter, like, in the thing. But at the end of the day,
they're side
like,
characters mostly.
Kind of, yeah. Like, as far as wrapping up that whole saga, it really was about those 6 core Avenger members. So, like, Iron Man, the Hulk, Thor, Captain America, Black Widow, and Hawkeye.
Yeah. Like, I feel like 6 is even too many, though.
It is a lot. No, yeah, it is a lot. But I mean, even in that group, though, Black Widow and Hawkeye are side characters. So it's really just Thor, Cap, Hulk, and Iron Man. And they take their turns doing their thing. Because I mean, both of those movies together, it's like 5 hours. Because I think the first, maybe even 6. The first one is like 2.5. And then and then Endgame is like 3 hours.
You know, that's another thing that turns me off about those movies is, like, if they were each like 80-90 minutes a piece, I could entertain the idea of, like, doing that. But
when you watch it, though, it doesn't feel like it's that long, because, like, there's essential things that are happening, and
I disagree. It feels long as shit.
Hey, you're just weak. You're just weak, thing. I held my pee the entire time.
No, I'm a what's the term? I'm a film prick.
I'm a snob.
Yeah, there you go. I'm a film snob. Yeah.
That's fair. No, that's fair. So, like, I'm a coffee snob because I used to roast coffee. So, I know when something is like, so I just went to this coffee shop the other day. I don't want to name them because I didn't really like the coffee.
I like how you like change the subject after just getting wounded.
But no, so I went in there and I, like, tasted the coffee. I like light roast coffee. They had light roast, but theirs was like white coffee, basically. Like, it wasn't even light roast, it was white roast. Like, I'm like, did you even roast this at all? Like, it was just very bright and vibrant, and it was just too much. But
Jesus.
So, like, I'm a snob because, like, I know how to taste coffee, and I am a cinephile, but, like, I'm easily entertained though. So I can accept people's criticisms and be like, oh yeah, for sure, that's valid. I still like it though, like, just because, you know, life sucks as it, like, why pick apart movies that are supposed to distract us from it, type of thing. So I'm just, like, super easily entertained. Ask anybody that's known me for 2 minutes. I laugh at everything. I, like, literally, I'm just like, nah, bro, enjoy life. Like, it's, you know.
Yeah, sure. No, I look.
No, shush. Be quiet. No, because you're. No, I'm just playing.
No, I can appreciate. I can, like, appreciate that aspect for sure. Like, you know, what's the movie? Face Off. Have you ever seen Face Off?
The show?
No, the movie.
There's I haven't
with
seen it.
It has John Travolta and Nick Cage.
It's
like this 90s
I haven't
action.
seen it, but I know it. Yeah.
Oh, it's so over the top and ridiculous, bro. It's like, it's Michael Bay if he was good, essentially.
Yeah, for sure. That's over the top.
Yeah, I highly recommend Face Off. But, like, just movies like that, like, you know, those 80s, 90s, like, you know,
the cheesy,
explosive action. You know, even, like, the horror movies. Like, like, I have a huge, like, you know, I value that entertainment aspect as well. I don't know. There's just, I don't know. Maybe I need to, like, I've always kind of had the thought, like, maybe I do need to kind of take some time and get into it, but I don't know. One time I did try to sit down and watch it, but I started with I've seen Iron Man, I've seen the 2 first Avengers, but I think that's really it. Okay. Of, like, that early. Yeah. I started with Captain America because that was, like, the first, Like chronologically, that's the first one.
Yeah, yep.
And I don't know. I just wasn't a fan of that film.
Really?
Yeah.
I liked it.
I don't know.
Even though the whole time I was like, I don't think they talked about the segregation thing enough. But that definitely, like, they tried to make it like, no, this is
2009, man. You know?
This is a special unit where segregation doesn't matter. Like, okay, nice cop out, but let's talk about the fact that Cap was probably racist. Like, that's, or at least Bucky was. Like, at least that's. But no, yeah, I did like that movie though. I mean, and at the same time though,
that's
like,
actually, I'm sorry, that's actually hilarious.
No,
Captain
I feel
America
like
being
no,
racist.
it is funny. Like, I feel like the thing is too, they're fighting a whole racist regime.
Yeah.
And you don't hear anything about them being racist. It's like, how does this make sense? And again, I get how they tried to get around it by saying like, oh no, Hydra was actually just trying to take over the world with the Tesseract, whatever. It was this whole other thing, and Hitler was just like a pawn, yada yada. I get it, but still, that you can't get around the fact that they had 6 million Jews in gas chambers. Like, that's, you can't get around that. You can't get around Hitler's embarrassment at the Olympics when I forgot the black track star's name, but he just embarrassed every one of them white boys on that track.
As they do usually.
Yeah, for sure, as one should. But yeah, no. So, but I did like the movie. But if you're gonna get into it, I would say just do it. Like, but don't. Cause I mean, I've heard too, like, people who are like cinema people, like not cinephiles, not like I like movies, not actors, but like cinema, like connoisseurs or whatever. Mm-hmm. They don't really like. They're like, that's not cinema. Sure, that's fine. Yeah. It's not cinema. It's a movie. Like, just watch it, shut up, and laugh. Like, enjoy it. Yeah.
I think Martin Scorsese said best. He said they're not.
I think
they're not films. Yeah. They're theme park rides.
Yeah, I think that's who I was talking about. That's one of the people that I was talking about.
Okay.
Which I respect that. Like, that's fun. Yeah, absolutely. It's. I mean, first of all, because Disney owns it, so that's what they do. But. But second, that's exactly how I felt when I was in there. Like, I'm on a ride right now. Like, and that's a huge emotional roller coaster, literally. Like, that's, and as a writer as well, I'm like, I would want my audience to feel like it's a, you know what I'm saying? But I do understand though, as an actor and a writer and whatever, like, yeah, there is like fine cinema. Like, there's classics that, like, I don't think any of the Avengers movies or sagas or whatever will be like classic movies, but I do think that what they did will be inimitable. Like, it'll just be something that, like, bro, they literally strung together a 22 movie series and had millions of people like so invested, like, and they revived comic books, thankfully for me. They revived like that interest in actual comic books and reading it, and they made it part of pop culture because people still read them and watched anime and stuff. They just got made fun of for it. So, but like
now it's the popular thing.
Thing. Now I can make money off of it. So, so thank you, Kevin Feige and Disney and Marvel and everyone. But just start watching. Like, don't put an expectation, because some of them are not the best. Some of them are really good. If you hop on Disney Plus, if you have it, like, they have a section where it's like in chronological order. So you can just sit down but and I think they even have it like with the shows included, but you don't have to watch the shows. Those are like bonus. I really like them, but they're just bonus.
Sure. So like, when you look at like the Marvel universe, do you see a point where it ends, or do you think it's gonna just keep fucking? Do you think it'll be a phase 20?
Okay, so here's the thing. I'm Christian, and I thought, I was praying to God. I was like, do not come back before this Infinity Saga is over. I'm gonna be pissed. Like, I need to know what happens. So that prayer was answered, and now I don't care. I was just like, all right, bet, appreciate it. But I don't think that they'll be able to redo what they did. Like, they took 10 years and just like did something crazy. I was 12 when Iron Man came out, and 12 or 13.
Yeah, what year were you born?
97.
Okay, so I'm a couple years older than you. Yeah.
So yeah, old fart.
I have been called a boomer on the show before.
Well, but I'm the youngest of like older generation, so my siblings are 6 and 8 years older than me. So like,
I see.
and even our family is like on the younger side of my dad's family. So it's like, I have uncles that were old enough to be my grandpa.
Oh, wow.
So it's like, yeah,
damn.
So it's like we are the young, and I'm the youngest of my family, and so like I'm the youngest of older generation. But anyways, so no, I hope that Marvel keeps going and keeps going good. I wouldn't mind if they started to transition more heavily to Disney Plus shows, because they do really good Disney Plus shows too. And I have that same feeling about like Star Wars too, because their shows are drastically better than the movies that they're putting out right now. And it's like longer format, you know what I'm saying? It's not just like a 1 night 2 hour event. It's like for six to 10 weeks, whatever. You get on there on Wednesday, you watch an hour-long episode, you talk with your friends about it, whatever. You know what I'm saying? It can become like a more I just like that format a lot.
Sure.
But,
yeah, you know, that's another one that I kind of just lost. The like, what was it? I think it was the 8th one. The 8th Star Wars. What was that?
We don't talk about those. We don't talk about those.
So you think the shows are superior to that?
By far.
Okay.
That's not even a debate. Like the new movies, like the new trilogy. Yeah. No, they had, and the issue was they had 3 different directors, I think. Is what happened. 2, but then like the one in the middle was different though. So like that completely just like threw it out of whack. Like, but even with that, I don't like whoever wrote it. This is where I get critical about movies, is the writing.
Yeah, same.
So because like, but as a writer, like I'm like, bro, that's lazy writing, or like that was dumb. Like, why did you do that? But it doesn't make sense. First of all, never in Star Wars lore has there ever been a dyad in the Force.
What's a dyad?
That's what they tried to say that Rey and Kylo Ren have. Like they're like connected by this dyad in the Force or something. And it's like
weird.
that's made up for sure. Just like the Metachlorians was made up. Like I didn't mind that one because I grew up on the prequel trilogy, and
that was at least George Lucas. So
right, and George Lucas did that. So it's like, I mean, he can do whatever the flip he wants.
Exactly.
But no, yeah. So they did that, and I was like, that's weird, but okay. And then like, Rey inherits like that mantle or whatever of Skywalker, and she's a freaking Palpatine. Like she's literally the bad, like the seed of the bad guy.
Yeah, that was lazy as shit.
I'm like, dude, are you like? And then they could have had the most amazing like, they could have had an amazing villain with Kylo, and then they just made him a crybaby. But then 2, he could have had an amazing redemption arc. Yeah, and then he died, and like they could have they could have had a kid or so, like, you know what I'm saying? Like they could have done some, or what would have been the best is if they switched. Kylo should have become a Jedi, and Rey should have become a Sith. Because when I saw Sith Rey, I was like, that's what I want to see. This Rey that I'm seeing right now, I don't care about her.
Yeah,
I want to see Sith Rey. Like that's dope.
Yeah, I remember when that the 7th one dropped. What was it? The Force Awakens?
Yeah, I think so.
I remember when I went to the midnight premiere. And, you know, the thing that I will say about that film is it does have, like, an amazing opening shot.
Yeah.
Like, there's something, like, I remember seeing that in the theater. I was like, oh, this is incredible. And then it just went down.
But that's the thing. But that's always been what Star Wars has been about, is the spectacle. Yeah. You know, that's always been the thing. Like, from the original trilogy, that Star Wars is a purely spectacle film. And I learned that because when I was watching the original trilogy for, I think, the first or second time, I was like, this acting is really cheesy. And then I realized, like, okay, it's from the time. But then also, like, why was it as good as it was, though? And then my parents told me, like, well, it's because the effects and, like, all this stuff, like, that was really cutting edge, whatever.
Yeah, that's part of it. I mean, I would also argue a lot of it was the writing, though.
The story in general was good. Yeah,
like George Lucas was a serious student of like philosophy and all that. Like he like really knew his shit in that. So I mean, I think and you know, look at Force Awakens. I mean, that movie was A New Hope for Beta.
Right.
I mean, and you realize that halfway through the movie, like this is the same movie.
Yep. Yep. And I think that's the issue with Disney picking up all these things. Yeah. Because Disney is just like looking for cash cows and I don't know, but
that's the problem. China will always buy their shit. China will buy their shit forever. They don't need.
It's annoying. It's annoying. Yeah. But anyway, so back about me. Yeah. We just got off on a whole. Yeah. So bad. I'm a nerd. No, that I love the conversation. Like that's yeah. It just popped back in my head too. I'm like, oh wait, I'm on a podcast. I'm supposed to be talking about my friggin'. But no, yeah. So yeah, I'm a nerd, as you can tell. All of those stories are huge influences on my writing and in both the positive and negative aspect, because I try not to mimic anything. Mm-hmm. Like I realized some of this backstory was very too reminiscent of like Black Panther. Mm-hmm. And I was like, okay, I need to go in and change some stuff because I didn't mean to do that. Just stuff like that. So it all influences what I do, how I write. My main title is called Aru and Duat. And so it's a Afrofuturistic space odyssey about a warrior princess from Earth who is basically leading a settlement effort on this planet called Panthera. And so she is the daughter of a king on Earth. So she's trying to come out of his shadow, and she's like on her own basically for the first time in her life. She has some trauma from her formative years. There was a coup in her country, and these people tried to take over, whatever. And she was like kind of manipulated in that situation. And so there's like stuff that she's dealing with that. And so it all kind of plays a role into everything. And the villain is like, he represents like fear of the unknown and like losing hope and all these things. So there's a lot of, we were talking about how George Lucas is very like philosophical. So I'm very much the same way. And so that's what I'm saying, like stuff like that influences like how I write, because it can't just be surface level. Like throughout all of history, people have told stories in order to help us deal with life. Like now everything is about an escape of life, like escaping life. But it's much healthier, and historically what humans have done is found ways to help deal with it through narrative, through, all these other things. Even like food, food, if people can sit down and have a meal together, there will be a slew of problems that will be solved. Yeah. Like just joining someone at mealtime is like a sacred thing for human culture.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I mean, there's something really important about like, like literally the idea of like, like sharing food and like sharing the same, like, the same thing that you put your work into. Like, that's fucking great, man. Yeah. So how do you like, because you kind of touched on that. I can imagine like working in the genre of superheroes could be really challenging. Like, keeping it fresh and new, etc. Like, what do you, is there like, do you pull from things in your life or like others that like are, like, I guess, what do you do to like keep it interesting? Like, what are you pulling from to like keep those stories interesting?
Yeah. So, I pull from generalisms, if that's a word, but not per se like specific things,
like societal type of issues, or
just like in general. So I did pull specifically. So like part of the origins of my comic universe is that there was a race war. It was World War III, but it was based on like race, so it was like a race war. But it's technically not a race war, because it was like, it's just that at that point countries had separated out based on race. Okay. And so then it was like just World War III, but it was basically black folks versus white folks. And so through that whole thing, then like this comic book universe stems. But so like for that part, I do kind of draw from that, and there's a lot of symbolisms and stuff of that whole debate from the real world. There are symbolisms of that in that origin story, which is probably not gonna be in comic format. Like I have a bunch of stuff a bunch of lore that I will put out in different formats, because I don't want to bog down the main story with world building and lore. But so like I'm building a lore Bible actually. Oh, okay. And so that will probably be in the lore Bible if people are like nerdy enough to Okay. Dig into that.
It's almost like just like a glossary.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, your Pokedex.
Okay.
Yeah, your Pokedex. Yeah.
I'm not that much of a nerd, but I am nerd enough. I did play Pokemon growing up.
Good. Yeah, good. I didn't play it a whole lot, but my brother did. He had the cards, everything. So like I'm familiar enough to know how
just
to...
the game. I guess not the cards. The cards.
Oh, yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, no. I watched the show. We had the games and I played it a little bit, but my brother had the cards. So so I was like in it.
Yeah. Funny story. I grew up in like a really strict religious household, and
that I want. Yeah, say what you say, but I want to have that conversation because I remember you said something with Lolo, and I was like, nah, I want to talk about this.
That'll be fun. But no. So we had Yu-Gi-Oh cards. And my mother, or my grandmother, had gotten me Yu-Gi-Oh cards for my birthday or Christmas or something.
I already know where this is going.
And it had. She discovered sexual, sensual images. Yeah. So she just banished them.
Oh, that's not the reason I thought it was gonna be. I thought it was gonna be this is magic. Like the devil.
They did ban Harry Potter for a short period because of that.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of there's this podcast, I haven't listened to it yet, but they kind of juxtapose J.K. Rowling going with the all the trans controversy now, along with back with that religious stuff, and how they're both opposite sides of the aisle, but and they treat her the same.
Yep. They all hate.
It's crazy.
Here's the thing, which is why it never made sense to me, because Harry Potter is very much a Christian movie. There's a lot of things that are they're fighting the Dark Lord.
Yeah.
There's a lot of even with the what is that spell? Expecto Patronum, the Patronus. It's a big ball of light that's and I didn't read the books either, but my brother did, and he would tell me some stuff, whatever. He's the OG nerd. I'm the new gen nerd. So he would tell me some stuff. I'm like, oh, okay, that's cool. So watching the movie, I had a little more insight, but even just being as spiritual as I am, just watching them, I'm this is something that I can immediately relate to the Bible or whatever. Because I don't think everything has to be so strictly oh well, they didn't bring up Jesus, so it's not Christian. It's nah. The principle of it though is don't be a dick. That falls in line with what the Bible says. Don't be a dick. That. It's congruent. So.
Well, I think the main reason for that is probably because it's it follows the hero's journey, which Jesus followed the hero's journey. That's a very common character development that you find in any religion or story, or it's.
I've always found that interesting because the hero's journey that I learned as a writer is not what I see Jesus going through, because there's always some kind of challenge.
You want to pull that chart up, the hero's journey?
Pull that up.
I want to. It's been a minute.
Because usually for the hero, there's an improvement that they make about themselves. Jesus is already perfect, so that can't happen.
Well, but he dealt with temptation. He dealt with temptation in the desert,
right? But it's not
the snake was Adam and Eve. He
was in the desert.
Desert, but the desert, and then right before he got right before they took him to get crucified, he was pleading with God, please let me. Yeah. So I think he did have a little bit of temptation.
I'm sure there was. Well, I'm sure there was aspects of the hero's journey.
He didn't fall. He didn't succumb to that.
Yeah, that's so. Okay, I'll show you what I'm comparing it to. But so we'll look at the hero's journey here.
So Call to Adventure, Supernatural Aid, Threshold Guardians. So there's two sections to those listening. There's two sections: the known, the unknown. It starts out with the Call to Adventure, Supernatural Aid, Threshold Guardians. So if you were to take Lord of the Rings, that'd be Gandalf comes to see Frodo type shit.
Right.
And then Into the Unknown, the hero's journey. That's them going to find the ring. Mm-hmm. Threshold, challenges and temptations, transformation or revelations in between that. Revelation, abyss, death and rebirth, which goes into transformation, atonement, and then goes back into the known.
Right.
And it says return, gift to the goddess.
So
look it up.
So with my I understand how this may be getting projected onto the gospel, but there's certain. So here pull up Save the Cat beat sheet.
Oh, I know Save the Cat.
Yeah.
That's a screenwriting book, right?
Yeah. Well, so this one is for novels. Save the Cat beat sheet.
Oh, okay.
Let me see. Try Save the Cat writes a novel. And then beat sheet. Up the second one right there. Yeah. Pulled up the exact same thing.
Yeah.
I have this book, and I actually have
I'm
it.
familiar with the book.
But, okay,
yeah.
so there's 15 beats in every story, and those 15 beats, they fall in line with like the hero's journey and all the things. So, but there's always a point where like the hero fails. There's always a point where like the hero doesn't know what to do. Like it shows their fallibility as a fallible creature. That is the complete opposite of what Jesus' story was. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
like there's things like that where I'm like, sure. And the only reason why I bring this up is because in like theological conversations, people will say that in regards to like it being an amalgamation of different texts and religions and stuff. And I'm like, well, it's not the same story though. Like it's completely unique, and so there's similarities. That doesn't mean that he's following like the hero's journey. That doesn't mean that he's like this was a story that like just is an anomaly.
I don't know. It kind of seems like the hero's journey.
No, for sure. There's similarities, absolutely.
Now, I do see your point. Like, and we were kind of talking about this earlier. Like, yeah, like he didn't fall, but I almost kind of feel like he couldn't, right? Like that
right.
goes against
That's
Jesus,
That's the point.
So they had to be like, okay, we can't.
Yeah,
we can't.
Yeah, no, and that's my point. Like,
when they wrote it on an island.
No, yeah, that's my point. It's just like, yeah, if they're all just sitting there conspiring, like, oh man, we can't say that he fell though. That's so somebody was in there. That's bad writing. That's sloppy writing. You're right.
Yeah, I remember hearing from somebody that they said that Revelation was like written on an island.
It was. So so John was exiled. He went to I forgot what the name of the island was, but and then he got the vision and
took some mushrooms and tripped his balls.
Hey, whatever it was, I don't know, but he was definitely seeing some stuff. But no, there's actually there's another text out there called the Shepherd of Hermes, and it's a Gnostic text, but it says a lot of the things that are like opposite of what Revelation says and prescribes and stuff. It's like chiefly talking about like when the devil comes to earth and whatever, and basically I have yet to read it myself, so disclaimer, but what I've heard, the videos that of people who have read it, they were saying that it says to take the mark of the beast or whatever. Like it says it in a different way, but it's like saying to persecute Christians, like it's like the opposite of what Revelation is saying. So, but the reason why I bring this up, there was something that I don't like deep dive on YouTube like that, so I don't want people to think I'm one of those guys. Like I do real research, but this is just some stuff that I saw once.
Sure.
But I was watching this video. Actually, it was TikTok, which is worse. But and this person was saying that there was some kind of movement or project or something yes, thank you, for them to like replace Revelation with the Shepherd of Hermes, which obviously like that's very unlikely because there's 2,000 years of the book of Revelation being used in canon, but yeah, no, I just thought it was interesting that was a thing that they said, because I mean Revelation is a weird book. It's a weird book, but I actually, looping it back to influences, I took a lot of ideas from Revelation specifically, just in like where the galaxy is gonna go and like how like certain things that unfold. I even used like Cain from Genesis, like Cain and Abel. He's a character in like the origins of the lore and everything. So like that's one of the influences and stuff in there as well. But
interesting. I let's see. I think I read like the first 3 books, and I think I read like Mark, Luke, and John or something like that. I think I got into Revelation, but that the fucking Bible, man, like it's written like, and like I was like a teenager trying to read, like when I was trying to read it, so I was like it was dense, it's hard to get through. I don't know, you hear like my mother's like a devout Catholic, she's like
oh, that's why. Everything makes sense.
Got it. Yeah, so she's actually like I don't, Molly, do you remember what she is exactly, what my mother's doing in the church?
No, something with the diocese.
Something with the diocese, yeah.
All that Catholic
just
stuff
like,
is
all
lost
that
on
Catholic
me.
shit, right?
She's Catholicing it up.
Yeah, exactly. But she's like one of those people like who reads the Bible like consistently all the time,
religiously.
Religiously, exactly. So yeah, but like I can't understand how people can just sit through that. I don't know.
It's funny because that's my thing. Like that's how I love reading it. I deep dive, bro. But here's the thing.
Damn.
Here's the reason why. Most people, and this is actually kind of why I have a bone to pick with like Catholics and Orthodox Christians and stuff. So I when I study, like I'll be into like a 5-hour study. I look at the original Hebrew words. I research those words, like the cultural context of the words, but then also not only in Hebrew but in Aramaic, because that Aramaic is a dialect of Hebrew that Jesus spoke. And so there's actually, if you translate what he said on the cross, Eli Eli lama sabachthani, it translates differently in Aramaic than in like Hebrew, like just slightly differently. And so there's things like that. So like when I'm studying, so my expression of Christianity is not the King's Christianity. It's so I'm what you would call a Hebraic Christian. So like I observe Torah still. Like I follow the Old Testament stuff, and like it makes way more sense when you look at what Jesus was actually saying and like comparing it to like what people do now. So like Easter, show me what part of the Bible had Easter eggs, and you know what I'm saying, like just stuff like that where like Christianity kind of just went and did this weird stuff. So I have a more like Eastern approach to it, which it's an Eastern philosophy. I feel like you have to have an Eastern approach in order to really understand it. And all of these Western dudes heard it and was like, oh yeah, so rape and pillage, like that's what you're saying to do. Like, huh? What? Wait a minute. I think you missed something there. That's not what it's saying to do.
So there's really that drastic of a difference in translation?
It's not the translation per se. It's just that like for people who are not like me, who actually dive into it, it's easy to misunderstand what is being said in the English. So like, and if you only speak one, this is one of the biggest issues. In America, we generally speak one language. In the real world, people know 4 or 5 different languages.
Sure. Yeah.
And so it's easy to be able to know, like, okay, and not only that, but there's something called the Sapir-Whorf theory, which is like whatever language you speak, it wires your brain a certain way.
Yeah, sure.
So if you are speaking, and that's why people who speak more languages have a higher IQ, but if you are speaking a certain type of language, like from an Eastern culture, you're gonna have certain concepts that are easily understood versus, I'm about to sneeze, I can feel it. There we go. Versus like, you know, so in English we have certain colloquialisms or whatever that like it doesn't translate to Spanish or whatever else. And or like there'll be a joke like in Spanish that if you say it in English, it's like that wasn't funny. But if you say it in Spanish, you're like, oh, I get it because it sounds like this other word in Spanish. Like it's stuff like that where you only get it if you speak another language. It's a similar type of thing where like you don't get the full context of what's being said in the Bible if you don't look at what the Hebrew says and like look at Hebrew culture. And the thing with that is that when it went up into Rome, so first of all, the emperor of Rome, Constantine, he's the one that like made Christianity popular. Dude was a pagan. Like he was a devout pagan. Yeah. And then he had a vision about a cross burning, and he took that as like, oh, okay, I'm supposed to convert to Christianity and conquer the world. Yeah. Which he did his thing. But but what he did in the process also was he de-Hebrewized Christianity and replaced it with pagan rituals and practices and stuff. And so then it started becoming this whole other thing. And if you look at the gap of time, it was about 300 years between the time of Jesus and when the Christian church was founded on like an organizational synodal level, where they had structure and like all this stuff. So that's 300 years of unmitigated, unregulated Christianity, basically, where there was no regulation of like, this is what it is. Which is why having scripture is so important, because that tells us this is what it is. But by that time, they already had all of this Easter and Halloween and all these things that were like influencing them, which I just use those terms, but they were actual pagan rituals.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
Like pagan holidays and stuff. And I'm not saying pagan in a derogatory way. That's just what it was. Sometimes I say it in a derogatory way, but
you can.
Yeah,
you can. That's
pagans,
fine.
you heathens. No, I'm just. But no. So like all that. I'm a history buff too. So all that stuff is happening, and so then the church gets founded. It's what's known as the Christendom, and so that's basically all. Like every Christian had basically the same beliefs in the first 1,000 years. But there was a growing divide in Europe only. So the Middle Eastern churches and the African churches are completely, but this is where like the American Eurocentric narrative dictates like, oh no, European history is world history, and so there was a divide in Christianity. Like, nah, bro. In Europe, the Western side like had different ideas, and so then they broke off and became Catholicism. The rest of the world was Orthodox Christian. Catholicism was the minority. And then from Catholicism, they came over to the United States and made Protestantism. You know what I'm saying? So like, there's this whole weird thing that broke off from the Eastern mindset of it, and then it just kind of got watered down. So that's why I don't even be blaming people. Like, that's why when you said your mom's a devout Catholic, I was like, yep, that'll do it. Yeah, because there's so many inconsistencies and like a lot of it just doesn't make sense. And then the way that it's just over strict a lot of times. They kind of miss the point of certain things, which we like. I do too. Like we all do. We're all human. But yeah, no. So that's my beef with Catholicism in a nutshell, and Orthodoxy kind of, because they're very similar.
Hey, well, I have all the beef in the world with Catholicism.
Yeah. We'll beef together. Yeah, no, we can beef together.
Yeah, it's kind of as you probably know, I'm an atheist.
Yeah.
And that's kind of one of the funny things is there are people who like are Christian, but they still like hate the Catholics, and like that's the one be like, hey, I'll roast the Catholics with you. Don't get into Christianity, but the Catholics.
So there's it's all Christian. This is a common thing because America.
Yeah,
it's all Christianity. There's Catholicism, Protestantism, and Orthodoxy, and then like Messianic Jews and Hebraic Christians. But usually when people say like Christian, because those are the two things: are you Christian or are you Catholic? But technically it's, are you Protestant or are you Catholic?
Yeah. Yep.
But no, I get what you're saying though. Like Protestants for sure would be like, oh yeah, no, we can definitely talk all day about Catholics. Like, which is, I don't think that's what they should be doing, even though I kind of do it too. But like, I don't think that's how we're supposed to be. Behaving, but
it's pretty hilarious.
Yeah, no, it's but it's funny. Like a lot of the stuff that they do is fun. Like literally, first commandment: don't worship any other gods. You walk into a Catholic church, they're praying to Mary and all this. It's like, did y'all miss the first? The pages must have been stuck together. You must have missed that part.
That's funny.
It's
the lineage, man.
Bro, don't even get started.
So let me ask you. So you had a bone to pick with me from the Lolo episode.
Yeah. What were y'all saying? I forgot what you were saying.
Well, the clip that probably went viral was just us talking about like Christian nationalism, which I think you actually would probably agree with based on what you were talking about. Like, just like like that Protestant-esque, like people going into the Bible and thinking that like America is like the world.
God, yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, no, that is a complete result of the Eurocentric Christianity that America has, of just being like, oh well, America's like bro, America's only been here for 400 years.
Yeah,
you gotta chill. Like we're babies. That's why the world doesn't take us seriously. I hope you know. Like China's been around for thousands of years. Literally thousands.
Yeah.
Iran, they were Persia, bro. Like the Persia. I don't know what more you want me to say. America's a joke. Like we're new Rome, but the Romans were actually badasses. Like they were actually good at what they did. Actually, no, I'll take that back because in the 40s, America did its thing. But for a second, I thought I heard about them. I was like, huh? Hiroshima? But no, yeah, like Rome, America is not even a shadow of what Rome was. Like Rome actually did the thing, and they eventually got fat and lazy and fell apart, just like America is going to. But but yeah, no, there's just a lot of stuff about the U.S. that's like we project our American privilege onto everything, and that's one thing. As somebody who acknowledges like there's white privilege and like all this stuff, I have American privilege, bro. Like that's why I hate America, but I wouldn't really want to be anywhere else. I don't think honestly, that's why we're still here. To just hey, let's just make this better. Like how about that? Because the stuff we deal with here is actually normal around the world. Like you know what I'm saying? Like there's ethnic cleansings and warlords and like all this stuff that happens, but we're so in this air conditioned world where we're smoking our cigarettes and like not worried about anything that's real, that as soon as somebody says something we don't like, it's like how dare you not agree with me? But back in the day, you know, you have the Platos and the Socrates and the Augustines and, you know, all, like these philosophers that if they hear somebody say something they disagree with, they have a conversation and they're just like, oh, well, let's talk about that. Like, let's see. But then again, they didn't have.
Well, yeah. And that's the difference between America
distractions.
That's the difference between America and everywhere else, right? It's like other places you have a disagreement, you get shot.
Yep. Some places in America.
Yep.
Some places in America. But yeah, no, like we're gonna have a gentleman's duel or something. Like like it's one of us is dying. You doth thou bite your tongue at me, or whatever the thing is, you bite your thumb at me, sir? Like that type, like you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And it's America's weird. I don't know. Everybody thinks that the world is supposed to be easy. That's really what it is. Everybody thinks the world is supposed to be easy, and they put all their energy into trying to make their environment easier rather than making themselves harder. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, instead of going harder, they try to make everything else easier. It's a waste of time because, okay, and I talk about this a lot in the context of like race politics and stuff. You can do everything right and we get rid of racism. There's gonna be another ism that pops up that we're gonna have a problem with.
Yeah, it's human nature.
So instead of trying to make everything a paradise on our own, why don't you just suck it up and learn how to endure through it despite that? That's one thing that I would like to figure out how to get across to black people, because there's like, yes, fight for equality, fight against injustices, all that for sure. But don't put all your, that's giving them the power. That's giving everyone else the power of like, hey, treat us right.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay,
I agree.
Yes, they should treat us right. Let's assume that they're not going to. How can we operate to be successful despite how everybody else is acting?
Yeah. You know, that's kind of, I agree with you. I agree 100% with what you're saying. Like that's, and that's a big part of why I always kind of tended to side more with like Malcolm X versus MLK. It's like he was like, you know, MLK was great. Like I think he had his heart was in the yeah, sure. Yeah. I mean, I think his heart was in the right place, but at the end of the day, his answer was, we need the state to do it. Right. And Malcolm X was like, no, we don't really need the state to do it. We're like, you know,
he was like, we can do it.
Exactly.
I promise you we can do it. Martin, I promise you we can do it. Hey, that's why they didn't come in our neighborhoods. That's why they didn't do all that until our leaders were assassinated, and then they started putting coke and all that into the neighborhoods, and then they realized like, hey, we need to remove the black man from the family. We need, because when they're united like that, when they have a Black Wall Street, we can't stop them. So they bombed it. When they have like these organized, that's why black gangs are not as organized as like the mafia or like whatever, because they completely deconstructed. So like just looking at the Bloods and Crips, they came from the Black Panther Party. Like when it was disbanded, they broke into these things. So blood is
I didn't know those originated from each other.
Yeah, so it all started as a unified thing.
Yeah.
And then we're literally at war with the US government. And they infiltrate the neighborhoods, break everyone. Have you seen Snowfall?
I have not seen Snowfall.
So that kind of like, that's the era that it is when they were pumping drugs into the community, coke and cocaine and everything, like just putting, I forget which one it was, but they put it into the community. They disproportionately put the sentencing on one drug that black people that were put into the black communities.
Crack. Yeah.
So like all that stuff is going on. That's kind of what Snowfall, the era that Snowfall was in. But so then all that stuff is going on, and once they remove, oh wait, we were talking about the gangs. So so then they disbanded them and stuff, and then now there's the Bloods and the Crips, and then like there's some other stuff too, but those are acronyms. Blood is an acronym. Crip is an acronym. So it's brotherly love overcomes our depression. Is blood, okay. And then Crip is community restoration in progress.
Huh. I never knew that.
These are organizations that were started to take care of ourselves because the government was not doing it. And they didn't like, so they thought, oh, we'll dismantle the Black Panther Party and we should be back in control. That's not what happened. We made Bloods and Crips and these other organizations to take care of our neighborhoods. We don't like that. So we're going to, hey, you guys want to make some money? Yeah, just push these drugs out there. You'll get some money. And then they start arresting them and doing all this stuff and removing the black man from the home, and then twisting the narrative about the black man even more, and like all this stuff. And so now we went from, oh, you're just a slave, to, oh, you're a dangerous gangbanger, and like all that. Like you're not just a dummy anymore. You're a dangerous dummy. Like then this whole, like, bro, I'm in the Army. PsyOps is a thing. Like it's a real department, and they are doing a beautiful job. Like they are doing a phenomenal job. So all that, and then now we're in this place of like just what the modern perception of like the black gangbanger is, and then you look at how people view that versus if it's like a don in a mafia family. They're like, people respect that, but they don't with the black version of it. And then they ignore the history behind them as well, and like, and then it's just, yeah. So anyway, I forgot how we got on that topic.
Well, I mean, look, I think the biggest reason for that, and I don't know how you feel about like drug legalization or whatever, but I think it's the drugs, right? Yeah. I mean, because the mafioso, I mean, they did what they sold, like mostly they sold alcohol, prostitution, gambling, and like prostitution is illegal most places, but I mean, it's usually still looked upon more positively than like somebody selling cocaine, or heroin, or whatever. Yeah, and that was intentional. You know, I do believe in decriminalization of drug. Like I believe in building rehab facilities rather than prisons. Because it's a production pipeline. The private prison systems is just a production pipeline. Like they get, it's slave labor under the 13th Amendment. Sure. You know, and so I absolutely believe in decriminalizing basically all drugs. Because like especially if somebody's like an addict, you know what I'm saying? Like they're sick. Like that's, I believe, is a choice. Like at first. But at some point, it's no longer a choice. Like, as somebody who people are gonna argue this up and down, I was addicted to weed. Like that's whether it was the substance, whatever. I could not stop smoking. I wanted to, but I couldn't. I needed help. So like, that's where I'm like, okay, let's decriminalize. I don't think I should have gone to jail for it. You know, but especially now that there's like dispensaries and stuff and people making money off of weed, but there are still people incarcerated for it. There's a double standard there, you know, but decriminalize it, make rehab facilities, whatever, you know, for the people that want to partake in rehab. If not, then, you know, then you can talk about other options. But look, who's that? Switzerland? One of those, and they have like a phenomenal like rehabilitation system or something like that. I mean, yeah, Sweden. Yeah. Me and Molly always joke that Sweden isn't a real place because they just.
Oh, it's not. No, yeah. Yeah, no. It's, yeah.
They seem to have everything working out over there.
Yeah, no, but I don't know. I thought that too, and then I started hearing like, well, yeah, it like everything works out and they have things provided, but like the universal healthcare that like it doesn't necessarily work out how you think, and like there's downsides to everything though. But I'm pretty sure it's still better than here. Like,
yeah,
but,
I don't know. I know Canada's healthcare system is like garbage.
Yeah,
like
I have a Canadian friend actually. And
really?
Yeah, he was telling me about it.
Oh, really? Yeah, they give you you have to like go in like every day. They open up the doors and then they have like a ticket, and you go up and you pull a ticket, and it doesn't matter what it is. It doesn't matter if you have a leg gone or a cold or a cut or whatever. You are in line, and then it just depends on how long that takes. And then some people literally like lose their limbs because they like are awaiting surgery, and they end up going to the U.S. anyways. You know?
Yeah,
it's fucked up, man.
Yeah, but yeah, no, I'm pretty like people who know me. I have, just back on like the religion topic.
Sure.
I have, not that this is a disclaimer to anything, because I am still ignorant in a lot of areas. But one of my best friends is lesbian. I have one of my other good friends. He's Muslim. Like I had a lot of my good friends are Muslim, and I love having conversations with them, especially Muslims, because they're also like an Eastern mindset. You know what I'm saying? So like that particularly, but so like just when I was saying like, nah, yeah, I'm built different than these other Christians out here. Like it's not because like I'm any type of better person, but just y'all be tripping. Like yeah, there's certain things to stand up for, yes, and I do, but you got to know the time and place. Like, do you really think that holding picket signs outside of a Planned Parenthood is really going to change anything? Those people clearly have made up their mind. Like that's, yeah, they already know your opinion on it. You're just looking like an a-hole at that point. Like that part doesn't really. Yeah.
So what do you think the reason is for that? Why, there's always institutionalized, Christian, I guess just Christian institutions, like, and people follow that and act, in, wrong ways that, and what you believe is, not concurrent with what Christianity should be. Like, why do you think that is?
Sin. We're still humans. Like, like a lot of people, and here's the thing though, as much as people disagree with Christianity, don't think it's not real, there is an inherent like expectation of you should be better because you're Christian. And that's why it's such a thing when Christians are not, that it's the fall of the hero. Like this is like, oh, it's a greater fall because you had a higher expectation. And it's a bigger slam where it's like, oh, see, look, you're out here trying to say you're Christian and you just you were looking at her butt. Like it's like, bruh, it's booty. Like I'm still a guy. Like maybe I shouldn't have looked, but like that's you. I'm not Jesus. Like and that's where my approach is from. Where it's like we all need grace. Like Christians are usually the worst people, and that's why it's such a testament to the faith, because God can take the worst people and make them better. And so, like, I was a dirtbag, like, back in the day. And I would like to think that I'm not now, But, so I think when people who are not acting accordingly is either because they're only a Christian on paper, they're not really about that life. They got taught the wrong things, where it's just, like, cultural Christianity, where it's like, oh, yeah, we go to church on Sunday. We pray before we eat meals. But there's this couple that just moved in across the street, and they're a little too brown for my liking. Like, like they stayed on the grill a little too long. I don't like that. God messed up those two. And that's just because they grew up in rural Iowa. Like, that's not their fault per se. They're human. And it will take people like me willing to have a conversation with them and say, hey, do you think that Jesus, a brown man, by the way, would have had that same, bro? And no, don't even get me started about that. Because even that is like, what the heck is Asia Minor?
Can we pull up Japanese Jesus? This is some of the funniest shit I've
Japanese. So, well, like, people will say, like, no, technically he was Asian. I'm like, all right, bro. First of all, you got to look at where the tectonic plates are.
You thought America's Jesus was white. Holy shit.
Nah, yeah. Japan's fixation on white skin, I don't know what they got going on. Maybe those atom bombs really just shook them that much that they're like, nope, white people. They're the ones. Yup. But no, yeah, like, so I learned this recently. Continents they're not just social constructs. They're based on the tectonic plates of the world. Yeah, I know that for a long time. So if you look at the tectonic plates, I don't know if all of the Middle East, but Israel, like where Jesus would have been at, that is on the African continent. He was African. Now, maybe not in culture, whatever, but like, I'll tell you what, he didn't look like you.
No.
And he did, but he also probably did not look like, he probably didn't look Sudanese. Like, they're like super dark.
Yeah. Well, I mean, my mom even told me that growing up. Like, Jesus was probably black.
Yeah,
you know,
probably. Yeah, probably. Yeah, no, yeah, he lit. So, and here's the thing: it says a few times in about like the disciples were, who was it? Paul was mistaken for an Egyptian dude. Like, and 2,000 years ago, Egyptians were dark. You know what I'm saying? So, like, to be mistaken for an Egyptian guy, you got to be pretty dark. Like, that's that, you know, that you're darker than me at least. Like, you're not white. So it's just weird that people are now like, no, that's Asia Minor, and that, like, no, even on maps, if you look at a map prior to like the 1500s, a map of Africa, it includes the Middle East on there. And now this thing about my friend Abdul, he's from Pakistan, and he and I had this conversation, and he was like, no, like the Middle East is on Asia, and I'm like, no, dude, it's not. Like, that's the modern outline, but the reason why is because of just like how Rome de-Hebraized Christianity, then the Anglo-Saxons wanted to de-black Christianity. The whole book takes place in Africa. Like, I don't know where y'all are getting this idea that it's the white man's religion. Like, it's literally a bunch of black dudes changing the world, and you see there's I think it was Timothy, he was like the only Greek, or maybe Luke. There was very few Greeks that were part of their group. But if you look at the story in its totality from Genesis to Revelation, bunch of black people in the beginning, which is scientifically proven because you can't get black skin from white skin, but you can get white skin from black skin. So scientifically, had to have started black. Going on throughout history, whatever, it's a bunch of black people doing whatever they're doing. And then white people popped up, and nobody really thought of anything of it because race was not a concept thing yet, like based off of skin color. That wasn't a thing. And so it was just cultures, you know. And then time goes on again, and then there's this black dude who's just here, and he's changing the world, and he gets pinned up to a cross, and his whole posse of black people are like, that dude's God, like, you know, and, you know, you can disagree with that part or not, but, you know, whatever, they go off and spread their message, and they take it to Europe. They literally have people that are assigned to go into Greece and spread that message. There are other people who went, there's the Ethiopian that's mentioned in there, and so then there's other ones that went farther down into Africa, and that's where you see the three different parts of the Christendom, basically, which is like the Middle Eastern part, the European part, and then the what's called the Coptic Church, which is Egypt, Ethiopia, like the African part, which interestingly enough mirrors the three sons of Noah, Ham, Shem, and Japheth, which is where like the Asian and Middle Eastern stuff comes from Shem. At least I think Asian comes from Shem. But anyways, like, they each are a part of the, like, those are basically the three races. Ham was the father of like Africans, Shem was the father of the like Middle Eastern, that type of thing, and then Japheth was the father of white people. Those are the three races. And so it's interesting to see those three things in Christianity, like from the beginning. But so yeah, so like all this stuff happening with black people, white people come up very later on, and then, not gonna lie, white people kicked ass throughout. Like they popped up and they did their thing.
Hey, we do a pretty good job.
Yeah, no, y'all played the game for real. Y'all played the game for real. They was like, oh, y'all thought we came here to like mess around. Nah, we're running this thing. Like, like I have a friend from my unit. His name's Ethan, and I love him to death because we're probably pretty equally ethnocentric, like in our respective parts. He's a white dude. He will like swear up and down Britain is the greatest country ever, like, and then I'll just look at him and like, all right, bro, that's interesting because they got their behinds handed to them a few times by people with spears, so you know, that is what it is. But and not to mention Ethiopia was never conquered, but okay. But yeah, the European nations did their thing. Like they went out and conquered whatever. And so then they see history and they see like, we're the weird ones. Like we got to change that. And they played the game and they did the thing and they changed the narrative. They did psyops before like there was a name coined for it. But anyways, I've been talking a whole lot. That's just like it. That's
no,
one
it's
thing.
Interesting, man. You're very clearly like historically knowledgeable and like you understand your shit. I do have one question for you.
Yes.
Because because as like I said, you're a very smart person. You have your beliefs and you are very sure of them, but there's a million other beliefs out in the world. Why do you think that your way is the truth?
So there is a point where it does come, like the logic part, if you're going by like the rules of logic, it will break down because it's not a human thing. It's a supernatural thing. And so it does come down to faith at some point. And I won't even like use that term. I'll just say it comes down to a choice. Like you choose to believe in God or not. It's not like I can't sit here and convince you. That's why I don't do that, because you can't convince somebody to believe in God. They have to choose that. So all I can do is sit here and tell you the things that I've seen that haven't been disproven, that there's actually a really good book called Reasons to Believe, and there's like science and things that are way ahead of the time of what they were doing 2,000 years ago, things that God prescribed for them to be doing. So like one example, he prescribed them, he told them to have a ceremonial hand washing or a ceremonial process after they touch a dead body. It was essentially quarantining themselves and making antibacterial soap and washing themselves in it. They didn't even know what germs were. So there was no way they knew to make antibacterial soap. You know what I'm saying? But like with modern science, we can look and say, oh, they put like this type of ash in this certain solution, whatever. And we do that today. And we're like, this is antibacterial soap. And they did that after they touched a dead body. Like that's something that modern science didn't discover until like the 1800s. Mm-hmm. So for somebody to say, hey, God told me to do this, like that's a good guess, bro. That's a really good guess. Like, but then there's also other things, historical events that were prophesied and then confirmed to have happened hundreds of years later, like just all kinds of stuff. But I can lay all that out. Sure. You can still choose to not believe, and that's fine. It's your prerogative.
Yeah. Well, hey, I respect that, man. And as people who watch and listen to the podcast know, I'm a free speech absolutist, and I think anyone should be able to come on here and talk about that. So
absolutely.
Yeah, it was really interesting, man. Like, I just had a rapper, Obs. I don't know if you're familiar with him. He's really prolific. I highly recommend him. He's based out of Rock Island, but he was just in here, and I mean, every time he comes through, like he's spiritual, but he's a lot more like you in terms of he's very critical of like Christianity and like that white, the quote unquote, the WASP, the white Anglo-Saxon Protestant, like that whole, and just Christianity in general. Like, so we always have very interesting conversations about that. So I, despite being an atheist, I love having that conversation. So.
No, and I there's two people I love having conversations with, especially about religion and spirituality and stuff, is Muslims and atheists. So my thing is, again, my standpoint is like, I'm taking this off of faith, bro. Like, I choose to believe this. Even if I'm wrong, whatever. Like, this is just what I choose to believe. Even though I don't think I'm wrong. But I'm not so much coming into the conversation I'm not, if you sit here and you catch me up, I don't have an answer for something or something's contradictory or whatever. That doesn't mean that I'm wrong. I mean, okay, I have something to figure out. Like I have a Bible study to go do. Like I have a conversation to have with God. I have questions to ask, which I don't like when people are like, oh no, you just have faith. Don't ask questions. Like just believe. Like, nah, bro, ask questions. Like that's dumb. Sometimes you don't get an answer because God does what he wants, but ask questions. Go to your pastor, go to your church, go to the guy on TikTok, go to whatever, pray, like do all those things and ask questions because the answers are there. It's just people are not very literate when it comes to the Bible. And then I'll end this on this. The Bible is what's called an apocalyptic literature. It's a certain writing style. It's written a certain way. It's meant to be read a certain way. It's just like when you send a text, like you're wanting it to be read in a certain way. People today don't know how to read it. And it's not their fault. It's been translated twice to get to English, and it was from 2,000 years ago. So like there's a word hermeneutics. It's literally the process of interpreting the Bible, taking into account the cultural differences, the time gap, the translations, like just all those things that go into it. And so that's the thing. People don't know how to read it, and then they look at the poor example that human beings give of what Christianity is supposed to be, and it just turns them off. And I'm like, I understand that. Yeah, hopefully I can change your mind just by being a cool guy, I guess. But
I always promote anybody of any walk of life or belief system or whatever, always ask questions. Every time, because eventually we'll turn to atheism. No. If you ask enough of them, you'll get there.
Hey, bro, I'm not gonna lie. There was a time where I was like, bro, I wish God didn't exist, and then I realized how things would be if there was like no. Let me ask you this.
Well, today's your lucky day.
No, let me ask you this: is that not a hopeless sentiment?
No, I don't think so. I mean, look, I guess it depends how you look at it. If you were to think that it was something that was actually real and that was like taken away from you, then I guess it's hopeless. But if it's something that never was, and we're all sentient beings that come from cells, and we live and we die, and like I tend to think of myself kind of as a nihilist. So I think having that. Having that mindset, I think helps with that. Look, I mean, there is definitely something to the comfort of religion that I think every atheist struggles with. But I mean, I guess at the end of the day, if I don't believe it's real, then like I'm not gonna give into it. You know what I mean?
So then let me ask you this: is there morality?
Yes, I believe it's innate.
Where does it come from?
Just from you learn and develop that as you grow up. I mean, for the same reason that whatever religion or belief system we have, if someone came in here right now and shot all three of us and killed us, everybody knows that's wrong, because the idea of doing that, someone doing that to you, like that's going to hurt. You're going to have a physiological reaction to that. And that's going to affect your chemistry and how you interact with things. Like, to me, there's a very obvious, like, if you... I don't believe in karma in a religious sense, but like, if you do enough bad things, if you act maliciously enough,
or something's you're gonna
get it in the butt.
So then how can you say to because essentially by that, then it's just like what society agreed upon. Like if it's something that you say it's innate, so like it's like, okay, we all were here and we all kind of had the same vibe. It's like, okay, let's agree that we're not gonna kill each other. Like let's agree that we are going to do, and then that just kind of carried on.
Well, I don't think it's as simple as people just agree we're not going to kill each other. I mean, I think that humans developing tools, they develop guns and etc. And, through capitalism, they buy and purchase those things. And, the cards fall as they may. I don't really think that there's a like
rhyme or reason.
I don't really think there's like a uniform societal like, hey, we're just not going to kill each other. I don't think that can exist.
So then, in a sense, you are somewhat spiritual just in the fact of like there is a spirit, like not as like spiritual realm, but like oh, I'm in good spirits right now. But there's like a spirit that generally
it's funny.
covers.
I was actually thinking about this very thing like a week ago. Like I was listening. So I personally have been going through like sex and porn addiction. That's been something I've been struggling with. So I've been listening to a lot of like podcasts and what was my original point?
The spirit of it.
Oh yeah. One of the therapists was talking about that, how he has a client that's an atheist, but like they were still talking about like like you said, like having good spirit, like a spirituality in terms of like having and I was like, it's kind of funny. I guess I don't think that goes against atheism. I think just like being positive and having I mean, sure. I guess I don't think that there's any like religious reason for that. I mean,
well, because I'm saying like reason why I brought that up is because there are some atheists that are just like, it's a coincidence, or it's like this is just the law of nature and that's why we feel that way, or like there's different.
Oh, you're talking about like energies, almost.
Sure, yeah, just like for whatever reason, the state of human beings and Earth, like it's kind of just an understood thing of like, hey, this is harmful. Like that's what I mean. Like there's like a certain spirit of creation that's just like kind of there. I guess I would
think of it less as a spiritual thing and more as just as humans, as we've evolved and developed, we have just understood that logically it just makes sense for us to not hurt each other.
But yes, but I'm saying like that has to come from somewhere. Like even if every single one of us just had the same thought, like cool. But like
I would agree. I think it just comes from existing. I think it from trial and error. You know, everybody has moments as a kid where like, oh, like I had one time where I had a kid who was like being mean to me, and like I took his head and like slammed it into the gym mat wall.
Should.
But I still feel bad about it to this day. You know, you just do stupid shit.
We have our morality basically because that's like we evolved that way to have it.
Yeah.
Okay. So say that there's somebody who evolved a different way to have a different sense of morality.
Mm-hmm.
Who's right and who's wrong?
Nobody's right.
So somebody who thinks that it's okay to just like murder people, steal things, like all that. Like the most heinous crimes you can think of.
So, I mean, in their worldview, I mean, sure, they would be right. But I mean, I think the collective, I mean, this just, again, I mean, the likelihood of that happening is, I mean, it's a minority. There's
psychopaths and stuff like. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, but that's not. I don't think that's because of morality. That's because they have a mental.
Well,
health
okay,
issue.
yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
I'll use a less drastic like example.
Sure.
So there's the morality of like Christianity, and then the morality of like the LGBTQ community.
Sure.
So like obviously two different things. Like, but if there's no objective reality or objective truth in the universe, neither one of these two people is right or wrong. It's just what you believe and what you believe, but both parties are saying the other one is wrong.
Yes.
And my point to you is that as an atheist, you like there would be no reason, at least for me, if I didn't believe in God, like even as a Christian, I don't personally have any beef with the LGBT community. They don't got nothing to do with me. Like,
yeah,
you know what I'm saying? If you're gonna ask my opinion, I'm gonna tell you. But like I said, like my best friend's lesbian, bro. Like I get it. But so they will say that they're wrong. They will say they're wrong. So my point to you is that without that objective truth, there's no reason really to not support that. So why then would somebody voting against gay marriage like be like a morally wrong thing, or like
you said a lot there. So so when it comes to the gay marriage thing specifically, I actually think of a very good reason why somebody would be against that, because the government should have anything to do with marriage.
Yeah, facts. Yeah, that's
when it comes to like objective truth, something like LGBTQ, I don't think that most of that falls under that. Now, I think what's objective truth is like when you harm someone, that's wrong because the person who's getting harmed is having a physiological and is having a response that is going to happen no matter what because of that survival instinct that we have. So like this is a can of Sprite. That's objective truth.
Is it though?
Yeah, I'm holding it. You can touch it. You can hold it right now.
How do you know that you're holding it though?
See, now that is a school of thought that people go down. I do not go down that school of thought. I think I'm holding this can.
Yeah, that's but that's what I'm saying though. If there's no objective truth, like you have to go down that road because
this is
there's
objective truth.
How do you know you're even actually having this interview though? If there's no objective truth, like there is no reality.
Because if that's the case, I'm gonna go jump off a cliff right now. Because why the fuck does it matter?
Right. Okay. So that right there, that is like I think one of the big base points of like no, there has to be a creator. Like because first of all, science contradicts itself in a lot of ways. Like what people say. As far as like energy cannot be created or destroyed, but at some point it was created. Like where did it come from? Like that type of, you know what I'm saying? So like logically there has to be a beginning to this. Otherwise the universe is God. Either way there's a God, like, or however you want to think of that infinite being. Either the universe is infinite, which would effectively make it like that God being, or whether it's sentient or not, it's infinite. Or it's not infinite and it had a beginning, in which case, where did it come from? Somebody had to place it there.
I don't agree with that.
According to the laws of science, because you can't create or destroy matter, only transfer it.
I mean, I don't know. I don't see like the universe as being a sentient being. I just view that as reality.
That's why I said whether it's sentient or not. Like,
okay.
But if it doesn't have a beginning, it's not going to have an end, and it's infinite. Time-wise and space-wise.
I mean, I think it just is, man. Like the idea behind the Big Bang Theory, right? Like the reason that makes sense is because even though it's a 1 in billion trillion chance or whatever, every single one of those instances happened, and at some point, it happened, right? And I think time just operates endlessly. Like I do agree with that. I think there's no beginning and there's no end, because even if we didn't exist, it still existed. Even if it's a void, it's still continuously going.
So you don't have an issue in believing in an infinite void, but there's an issue with believing in an infinite creator, like an intelligent being.
I mean, I don't even necessarily take issue with it. I just don't believe it's true.
But you believe that an infinite void is true.
Yes, because it's our scientific understanding that we have that is the closest, and I'm not a scientist, so but that is the closest thing that we have understanding wise. And I mean, look, going into science, I mean, the reason why science is so great, and I'm talking about actual science, not Fauci science. You know, the reason it's so great is because you could take a theory and, you know, if you have the tools and understanding, you yourself can prove that. I am 100% more willing to put my apples in that basket than something that cannot be proven by science and cannot be reconciled that way, and it can honestly be hijacked and used by a lot of people to do a lot of malicious things.
Here's my thing. I'm very so like I actually believe in the Big Bang. I believe in a form of evolution. If something as powerful as God says let there be light, the natural reaction is going to be an explosion. That's how I view it. In Genesis it says that God made man from the dust. Well, he was talking to people who didn't know what germs were yet, and so how is he going to describe like, oh, it started off as a bacteria that like then did that? So he just summed it up and said, hey, I formed you out of the clay. Like, because you get the point. Like that's you understand you're from this. That's the point of it. So that's how I view it. But with I was gonna say something and it just left. So apparently
we're almost at 2 hours.
Yeah, I was gonna say. So let's go, because I gotta pee. I got a script that I gotta go write. But very interesting. Very interesting conversation. I definitely we talked very little about my comic. But yeah, so there you go, Sensiil Studios. Check me out.
We'll put links in the description. Great conversation. Like I feel like we were 2 hours in and I'm like, I was not prepared for like a religious discussion.
This is, for whatever reason, this always, like, whenever I walk into a room, it's what happens. I don't even be trying to sometimes. Like, sometimes I'll be like, okay, I want to ask you about that, and it's a religious question. But, like, so, a lot of the times, though, if you spend more than 30 minutes with me, it just comes up.
I'm the same way. Whenever I walk into a room, somehow libertarianism comes into the conversation. It's amazing. I'm so sorry. Basi. Okay, I
just
was
think
right.
I'm the boss. I'm
the
bossy.
The bossy.
Yeah.
The bossy boss. Okay.
Yeah. Basi.
Well, hey, it's been a pleasure having you in, man.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Sensiil Studios, right?
Yes.
Okay. Yep. And what do you got coming down the pipeline for that?
Yeah, so Sensiil Studios, in case nobody's ever heard of me, is Iowa's first black comic book and animation company, seen on Channel 5, Channel 13, Des Moines Register, Iowa Public Radio, Afrotech, Black Enterprise, Little Village, a bunch of other stuff. I have 2 hard copy titles out right now. I do science fiction, so like those are what's out. That's what's going to be coming out, is science fiction stuff. So I have those 2 out. I have another one coming out this fall. Originally, I had slated one title, but now I have this partnership with the NASCAR driver, and we're working on our thing, and we're going to try to get that out by October for his race, so that way we can like have a book signing and stuff at the race. So I might be switching up the release schedule a little bit. But if you check my website, sensiilstudios.com, put the link in there.
Definitely will.
It'll there's a tab that says upcoming, and it will show you my upcoming titles. So just stay tapped into that. It will also show you my upcoming events. I'll be at OCon in 2 weeks, I believe, over in Omaha. So there's a Comic-Con there, and then I'll be at Anime Iowa the weekend after that, and then later on this year I will be in Twin Cities Con, so I'll be up in Minnesota in Comic-Con at Twin Cities. So that's what I got. Check out the website. I just started a Patreon. Nice. I have really good rewards, y'all. Like, so there's a tier for, like, it's basically like a comic book subscription. So like every time I drop a new comic book, I'll just send it to you.
Nice.
There's another one that, so like the lowest tier is like you just want to support, just $5. You know what I'm saying? So like just I believe in what you're doing. Here you go. Sure. Then the next tier up is that comic book subscription, and then the next one up is the core supporter subscription, and that's where you get like free merch. There's like you get like updates and stuff before everybody. So like when I start doing my animation stuff, like that will go to those patrons first, and like all that stuff. So like gets more exclusive. And then if anybody owns a business or they need, or like a podcast, they want something advertised, I have an investor tier. So, and there's only 3 slots for that. But yeah, hit me up about that one. If you do that one, then I'll get your logo, put it on some stuff. Like you'll be a sponsor. Or it's a sponsor tier, sorry. So like you'll be a sponsor. Nice. So yeah, I'll put your logo up places. I'll shout you out, whatever. You know, we talk about what that looks like. But so yeah, join the Patreon, because I got a lot of good stuff that's gonna be popping up on there. And I just got I'm gonna show you this, dude, because it's sick. I just got these. I got a 3D printer, and so I have these. I had a 3D sculptor. Why is this selecting thing? Oh, cancel. There we go. So I had him design my main character. To get 3D printed, so I can make like statues and stuff. And so those will be rewards for like Kickstarter campaigns. I'll see about throwing it on the Patreon as well. Nice. So go check my stuff. But I'm trying to give y'all all kinds of free stuff, because I'm about to lock in this deal with these animation companies, and I'm about to have money. Like, nice. I want to give back. I want to give stuff away. And I want y'all to join before I really, like, you know, what if you had the chance to really be on the Naruto team before it, like, became the pop culture icon that it is? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. To be involved in something, not only just like, oh, it's a comic book company, but like something from the Midwest that there's nothing else like it in this state. it's gonna be like my company's gonna be worth a lot of money at some point. So if you get like a first edition of one of my comics, and if you want to get it signed, you know, like that's gonna be bread.
Hell yeah,
down the road.
Good thing
like,
to get in on.
Yeah, good thing to get in on. So yeah, check me out. I'm on everything else, not just Patreon, but Instagram. I made a Threads. I made a Threads account too. I like that actually. I hate Twitter, but I like Threads. Go figure. So yeah, go follow me. It's Sensiil Studios everywhere. Yeah, that's all I got.
Hell yeah,
Appreciate you.
It's been a fucking pleasure, man.
Yeah.
Like I said, I can tell you're a very smart guy, and it's really cool what you're doing. So, I support any independent, Iowa local, and you clearly seem to be making gains. So hell yeah, go check this guy out. Go check his stuff out, guys. Every Monday and Thursday at 7 p.m. the CalStars podcast. You can find us. Yep, right there. You can find us on YouTube, audio, everywhere, Apple, Spotify, all the good shit. We have a website, calstars.com, and you can check out. We also have a Patreon. Or we also have a Patreon. So
there you go.
if you want extra episodes and stuff like that, it's only $4 a month. So, you're about to, like I say every time, you're about to buy a pack of cigarettes.
Boom.
Spend it on this instead.
Yeah, no, that's the thing, y'all. Like, support for real, because there's dope stuff. This is an amazing podcast. I've seen some of the guests that come on here and stuff, and like just your ability to have conversation and like just all that stuff. Like, this is a good support. Like, join the Patreon, both of ours, matter of fact, because I know there's stuff that y'all spend money on, like coffee every morning at Starbucks is $5. You're not getting no dividends from Starbucks.
Unsubscribe from one of your OnlyFans whores and subscribe to us instead.
Yes, that's an even better one because they don't even
They're
like you.
all the same. Pussy is pussy,
and they don't even like you. Like they don't even know who you are unless you got like the exclusive one where they text you and stuff. But
unless you're paying way too much.
Yeah, and then in that case, you really need to unsubscribe. But anyways,
guys, have a good night. Thanks again for coming on, man. I really appreciate it. We'll have you on again.
Absolutely.
All right. Peace, guys. Have a good night.